Before we talk about responsive typography, it's important to understand what is responsive design. If you are not familiar with what responsive design is, I've covered it in my previous video. You'll find the link in the description below. But in short, responsive design means your website adapts to different screen sizes like mobile, tablet, and desktop for consistent and smooth experience. Most designers spend a lot of time making their layout responsive, but forget that overall typography needs to be responsive as well. And when typography is not responsive, it impacts both usability and readability. Also, when we talk about responsive typography, it goes beyond mobile devices. Typography needs to be adjusted for laptops, large screen desktops, tablets, iPad, and mobile. In this video, I've covered the 4 things you really need to think about when making your typography responsive. One common mistake that I see with web designers is that they adjust the font size but forget to tweak line height and spacing. When it comes to responsive typography, it's not limited to just adjusting font size. It's about an overall aspect of typography like font size, line height, letter spacing, and even line length. All of these needs to be adapted based on the screen sizes. For example, on desktop, if you are using 18 pixel body font and 96 pixel heading in this section, let's say heading, that same 96 pixel on heading will look huge on mobile. So let's say if I make it 96, this is how it's going to look. So we have to scale it down. In this case, as I'm using serif, the 30 pixel looks pretty good. And as I mentioned earlier in my previous video, that everything is case by case. So 30 pixel looks good in case of this font. Maybe for other heading, it might be 26, it might be maybe 35. Also, for the body text, which is 18 pixel in the desktop, I kept it around 16 pixel in the mobile. And one of the suggestion is avoid going below 14 pixel. It might look good in Figma when we check here, but when we actually build it and view it in actual device, it becomes hard to read, especially those who use small screen mobile phones. And yes, when we have changed the font size, let's not forget adjusting the line height. So here, the body font is 18. I have line height of 150. Here, I made the line height of 140 with 16 pixel font size. There's no perfect rules or let's say universal rule. It depends on the fonts you are using. But the general guideline is keep the line height of 1.4 to 1.6 times of the 16 pixel body font. So this is just in the case of 16 pixel body font, 1.4 and 1.6. And in the case of heading for 30 pixel font size, the line height, which was 140, now it becomes 120. And in this case, we really don't need to update letter spacing for this one because it looks good anyways. But if you go down, in this heading, I have adjusted letter spacing. So this is the subheading, let's say, which is 32 pixel font size with 150 line height with -2 letter spacing. Here, I reduce it down to 20 pixel and 150 line height and -1 letter spacing. So in short, adjusting typography is as important as adjusting the layout of your website from desktop to tablet to mobile. And when we do those adjustments, we have to adjust the font size, line height, and letter spacing as well. On desktop, it's very common to have a full range of typography hierarchy, let's say from H1 through H6 and maybe 2 or 3 body font sizes. But on mobile, that's too much. You really don't need 6 different font sizes on small screens. Instead, simply use 3 to 5 level of hierarchy, like large heading, or subheading, body text, or maybe a caption. In this example, you can see that I have used multiple hierarchies in the desktop version. So here you can see the first heading is 259 pixel, and then there's one on the top text. This is 26 pixel. This font is 18 pixel. This title is 120 pixel. These two are 26 again, and so on. So I'll not go in details here. But in the case of mobile, what I have done is the top one heading is 64 pixel, and this text is 16 pixel. This is 16. These titles are 16 again, and this one is 40. So I just reduce from 1, 2, 3, 4 hierarchies to just 1, 2, and 3. Also, I use this same font size even in the heading. One of the idea could be to use the hierarchy limited by just making the heading bold, keeping the same font size as body font, just like I have done in this example. Here you can see the body font is 16 pixel, and I made the heading 16 pixel as well and just made the heading bold. So basically, in the case of mobile, we just don't want to have too many hierarchies. And that's why it's always good to use font weight variation so that we can use that to our advantage. You can stick to the same font size, but create contrast with bold, semi-bold, or lightweight instead of just changing font size. When it comes to line length on the desktop, the ideal range is 50 to 70 characters per line. And for the mobile, it's 30 to 40 characters per line. And then for the tablet, it's 40 to 60 characters per line. So in this screen, I've set the font size to 16 pixel, which gives us around 25 to 35 characters per line, which is perfect for mobile readability. As mobile screens are already narrow by their nature, we don't need to give too much left and right padding, just like we used to give in desktop and tablet. So we can just give the 100% width of characters in the case of mobile and just give around 20 pixel padding left and right. So basic idea is to maintain the character counts per line, which is 25 to 35 characters in the case of mobile, and we can just make it full width. If your design supports both light and dark mode, typography needs special attention for both cases. Fonts tends to look much thinner in a darker background. So let me show it here. So if you're using a font weight of 400, or let's say light in the light mode, if you're using the same font here in the dark mode, it looks a bit difficult to read. So I'm sharing my screen. So if you really check in the mobile devices, then you'll feel the difference. So that's why it's very good practice to adjust the font weight when we have a darker background. So normally our good practice is to make it font weight of 500, or let's say font weight of regular or medium, depending on which font you are using. So basically, we have to treat font weight differently in the case of dark and the light background. So next time you are making a layout responsive, don't just focus on layout. Make sure your typography is responsive too, because good typography isn't just about looking good. It's about making people want to read your content on 32-inch monitor, a tablet, a laptop, or a mobile phone that they carry.